Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm working with my newest deck, the Living Altar Oracle. It's a beautiful, luxurious deck. I've been working with it, reading the book, doing readings, and today I'm bringing you with me to lay out the Wheel of the Year, or the Witch's Wheel, as they refer to it in the book. So we start with the Surrender card, which, when I unboxed the deck, I didn't realize this was the very first center card of the deck, of the Witch's Wheel, because surrender might not be a word that I would have chosen to represent source, but that is what it is. So it's the starting point, but it's also the end, and it's the very center middle point from which everything stems and everything returns back to, I believe. I really do like it. When you see it up close, there are a lot of details. There's the sun, there's the moon. There are just little tiny elements of a bit of everything. So I like that. Next are the 4 elements. So there we have air, fire, water, and earth. And I love these colors. I love what they did with the lino cut. It's beautiful, it's raw, and I love the superimposed spell cards backgrounds on there. And we'll get to the spell cards at the end of the video. The surrender card is source, but it's also, of course, spirit. It's the 5th element. Then I love these beautiful cards. It's spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So the seasons, and look at that beautiful red edging. So I was delighted to find out that I definitely agree with their elemental seasonal correspondences. It's the same as, I believe, it's the same as the correspondences that they made in the Druidcraft deck. And that is when I realized that winter to me is earth, because it's like the little seeds coming through the blanket of snow. You know, there's the promise for tomorrow, but it's the slowest moving element, so that makes sense also in winter, at least to me. I mean, I know there are different systems with it, but I really like this one. Air is spring, so, you know, swords, that would be when the plants literally come out of the earth. It's the first time they see the air, the outside world, right? And then there's fire for summer, where there's a lot of sun and heat. And then autumn with all of that water and rain. Next, I'm picking out the sun cards. There are 4 of them, and they are gorgeous. It's sunrise, midday, sunset, and midnight. So, can you guess where they belong? Sunrise goes with air, midday goes with summer, where the sun is at its peak. The sunset goes along with water and autumn, and then there's midnight, which is a very dark card, and you can see in coloration it also corresponds very well to the earth and winter card. Next, the moon cards. Ah, it's beautiful. All right, so about this crescent moon, I believe it should really be a waxing crescent rather than just a crescent, and then it happens to be the waning crescent. Then I noticed also, which I believe might be a little mistake, is that the gibbous moon, the card that I have up front here, beautiful pink and blue, is the only card in the entire deck that doesn't have one of those superimposed spell cards backgrounds on it. You see what I mean? Like, we are missing the herbs, we are missing the thread, we're missing the whatever else they put there. We're missing the candle wax, unless it means something. I don't know. So disseminating moon I'm showing here is a gibbous, right? It's another gibbous moon, and this one is after the full moon. So the gibbous moon card should really be flipped. As you can see here, what I'm showing you with the balsamic moon card and the crescent moon card is that the crescent should be flipped, because with the balsamic moon and the crescent, the way that it's on the card now, are both waning moons. And balsamic moon means it's waning, it's a waning crescent, at least to my knowledge, that is what it means. And so the crescent card should really be a waxing crescent to make all of the moon phases. I'm showing you a similar thing that happened with the gibbous moons, because we have a gibbous moon and then we have a disseminating moon, which is a disseminating gibbous. And as you can see with the gibbous moon card, it also looks like a waning moon. But disseminating, we know, means waning. It's after the full moon. So the gibbous moon should also be flipped. At least that's what I think. That's what I made out of it. Let's put them in the wheel. Now I really like how the gibbous moon card with the pink and the blue really fits well with the spring season card. And then we have midday and full moon, which is beautiful because apparently on the fiery summer side of the diagram, the sun is at its peak, but also the moon. Which makes sense, right? Because the moon reflects the light of the sun. I was really careful to place them correctly, even though we basically have two waning gibbuses and two waning crescents. Guess I'm gonna have to get used to trying to look at them in reverse, in a mirror effect. Next we have the second narrative arc, the life path cards, phases of life and divine intervention. So here I'm showing you the childhood and the promise card. They go with air, and it's all very pink. Adolescence and catalysts. Makes sense that it goes from air to fire, right? And you can see it all makes sense. Young adult is with fire, and then the beautiful colors as well. Just look at the beautiful artwork. I love it so much. And I don't know if you can really tell already from this angle, but the colors are kind of, I don't know, not making a rainbow, but they are in a particular order with this second narrative arc, except that they're not. So let me explain. For instance, the young adult and celebration card, you've seen they go, from left to right, they go from green to orange. Then after that, there's the midlife and generosity cards. They go from brown to green. Then there's elderhood that goes from blue to brown. Now, I don't know if you make sense of this, me just talking over this clip, but if it kind of feels like it should have been a continuation, as in you can see the colors changing through the life path cards and then the divine intervention cards that go along with it. So the young adult and celebration cards maybe should have been flipped in colors from orange to green, so that green on the left side kind of seeps through the midlife and generosity cards that goes from green to brown, and then the brown is now on the left side of the card that seeps through to the brown and the blue of the elderhood card. I hope you know what I mean. If you don't, click back to where I start this example with the young adult card, and you will hopefully see, or you will see later on when I show all of these cards in the wheel. But it kind of feels like maybe it's an artistic choice, that's very possible, but it also kind of feels like a missed opportunity. We're going into the third narrative arc, which are the elemental magic of practical moments. So we have air cards, fire cards, water cards, and earth cards. I will put them where they belong. These are the cards I like to link to the court cards in the tarot. So an example, we have the cleansing card, which is water of fire, which would be the watery part of fire. So that means water are queens and fire are wands. So Queen of Wands, and that card in this deck is called Cleansing, which to me is really interesting. Then, for instance, we also have Earth of Fire, which is the Princess of Wands or the Page of Wands, and that keyword here is ritual. Even though I am familiar with the Witch's Wheel, the Sabbats, and everything, I'm very curious to see what this wheel looks like when it is laid out on the floor with the cards, because there is a black and white typed out version of the Witch's Wheel in the guidebook. And even though, in my review video of last week, I believe, I said that this chart was a little bit, or this diagram was a little bit blurry in the book. You can read it and it really doesn't bother me, but I really needed to do this in a visual way, of course. Now, I know there are different parts. This oracle has different chapters, or they actually call those narrative arcs. So this deck basically is divided into narrative arcs, but of course it makes a whole. So the Living Altar Oracle is constructed around the Wheel of the Year, or the Witch's Wheel. What I very much like is that we start with the elements and the seasons, and then we add another layer and another layer and another one. So we add not only the moon phases within a month's time, but also the sun phases within a day. And I think that is a great balance, because I love the moon, I work with the moon mostly, but the sun, of course, is the active counterpart, so very important as well. I like that it's both in there. Here I decided to lay out the cards a little differently, just because I was running out of space, and make a little bit more sense of it. But it's beautiful working with the cards this way, making maps, following diagrams. If they hadn't put this diagram in the book, I'm pretty sure that at one point I would have just made this anyway. Only, of course, without a guide, without a reference, so it would have been a bit more of a puzzle. But trust me, it was a puzzle anyway. In this oracle, it's like we pull everything apart to broaden the perspective, or we condense it to understand the shorter periods of time. For instance, the chapters in your own life. It's kind of like in my new moon video. I was talking about how, for example, a woman's cycle can be linked to the moon, but then also to the duration of an entire year. And here we are, let's dive into the wheel. So we are starting at spring or rebirth. You can really see the creativity and inspiration cards look a lot like the sunrise card. The sunrise, I think, is interesting that in the card we can see only half of the circle, and that goes very well with the first quarter moon card, because that's also one of the moon phases where we can see only half of the moon. Can you see that, for instance, in the intention and choice cards, as well as in the creativity and inspiration cards, those are all air cards, because we can see not only the colors of the linoleum cut, but also the backgrounds. It's all the air spell card with those blue butterfly wings. There's the gibbous moon, the only card without a background. We move into the fire. Here's the summer fiery side of things. The sun and the moon both full, you could say. And then the young adult and celebration card. So pay attention to the colors also. You're moving through the fire cards, ritual, cleansing, That's all part of the disseminating moon. Beautiful card, by the way. You can see the moon going from full to less. Book is closing again. Next to water in autumn, the sunset and the third quarter. Definitely a lot of water on this side. And I love this midlife and generosity cards. Oof. Beautiful. Very watery blue. Then here with the balsamic moon, which is quite a dark moon card, you can see that is connected to the soul harvest and elderhood and relationship and identity, etc. cards, because they are all of a sudden of a darker hue, which goes very well with the quiet and darkness of earth and winter. Then we have midnight and new moon, death and solitude. It all makes sense. Resource, boundaries, that really feels to me like the end. Although, of course, there's no such thing as a beginning and an end of a witch's wheel, of a wheel of the year, because it's a cycle. It's always moving, it's always in flux, it's ever changing. But it does kind of feel here with the emergence and rebirth card, like, that is where the death happened. And we have just seen the death card with, of course, the winter card. Again, I'm looking at this crescent moon and I'm thinking it would have made much more sense had it been a waxing moon. Although maybe there's also something to say for the waning crescent that goes almost into the new moon, looking back, because that is where the death is, and then there's the rebirth. But I don't know, I really think we are going from left to right, if you know what I mean, going clockwise. All right, enough about that. Look at this beautiful creation. It's amazing. Let's step into it and go through the different chapters of this deck. Here we are following the seasons. See where it leads us, with the elements, of course. Let's take a closer look at the moon phases. Very similar. I love that little apple in a disseminating moon. And here we're looking at beautiful rebirth. Okay, let's take a closer look at these colors again with these life path cards, because here we have adolescence, which from left to right, and catalyst, which from left to right goes from green to pink. But had it gone from pink to green, the pink would have come from the childhood card, and then the green would have gone into the young adult card. I know that I'm completely geeking over this deck in the sense that, I don't know, I love it very, very much. I do see, as I'm mentioning, a couple of irregularities and maybe, I don't even want to say flaws, but yeah, maybe flaws. That doesn't take away from the beauty of this deck, and I can sense that it is very well thought through. But really, this is just me trying to find the logic and the system in this deck, because doing all of these kinds of exercises and games, however you like to call it, I know is going to serve me in understanding the deck, in feeling the deck. So that's really what it is. All of that red thread that you can see in every card, I've really fallen in love with the color red again. I mean, I didn't think it would happen anymore, but it's just so powerful. And it's a color, we cannot help it, right? As human beings, as beings who are part of nature, we cannot help but notice the color red. And I like it. So thanks for that. And that was just a strange detail that I felt like I needed to incorporate into this video. Let's keep going. Okay, next, the spell cards. When they're in order, I'm starting to recognize them. So this is day, and then we also have moon, which is absolutely beautiful. Then here, rebirth with that pink petal that I recognize as rebirth, like a fetus kind of. I'm putting that with the rebirth card. This one definitely goes with the child card. Here, this is the background for the adolescence card. Can you see? Can you see that every card in the deck has, except for the gibbous card, has one of those backgrounds? When you see it, you will not unsee it. Here with that beautiful blue candle wax. Oh, I love that. That's for midlife. Elderhood. That's the background for the death card. And here we have earth. It's amazing purple candle wax. Air with the blue butterfly wings. I mean, I'm just saying things that, that I noticed. The fire spell card, of course, looks a lot like flames. And then this, actually, for the water, might be fish scales. I don't know. I'm putting the day card on top of the sun card. And then moon goes alongside it on the moon card. Why not? This is a wonderful creation, beautiful creation. I'm so happy I have this deck. I have more to explore, I know that. Please let me know what you think of all of this. Do you have this deck? Do you want to get this deck? And why? Do you want to get this deck because of this, the Witch's Wheel? Because it corresponds to the seasons and everything, and the moon phases and the sun phases? Or is it due to the beautiful artwork or the craftsmanship? This was it, guys. This was the Witch's Wheel, my own take on it. Hope you liked it. If there are any questions or, remarks, feel free to put them in the comments below. And thank you so much for making it this far. Again, I am asking you, I thought that would be fun in case you've actually made it this far. Please also include in your comment the word tassel, because this is my old altar cloth with all of these black tassels that I had put on there. I think that would be a lot of fun. Let's see how many of those comments we get. Thank you so much. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.